Hello, everyone. Gail Seiler, President of Betrayal Project USA. So I've gotten a lot of questions about the the memorial wall and the organization and our involvement in National Crime Victim Awareness Rights Week. And so rather than respond to all of the messages, which I'm glad to do individually if it's still needed. But I thought I would make a series of videos on the different topics that I'm being asked about. So this one is about our involvement in National Crime Victim Rights Week, what it is and what it isn't, and what we need from everyone to make this very successful. It's a very important movement, and so I'm going to focus on that in this one. And apologize, I'm making a video so that I can put it on multiple platforms rather than doing a Facebook Live, which I can't put in private groups and all of that. And so, um, so that's why this is the easier way to do that. So, happy to have a meeting if we need more questions answered. But the first thing is, we believe justice begins with recognition. And how did we get to that conclusion? And so, first, I want to acknowledge Jody Carroll, who brought this movement to our attention with a simple text. Hey, did you know? This was months ago. Did you know there is a National Rights or National Victim Rights Awareness Week? And so uh, we didn't know, and so we started looking into it. And Teresa did a lot of digging into that and connecting with that movement, and then we started thinking, well, this is the 45th year they're doing this, and all of these organizations and groups that are officially part of this movement, this national effort, how did they get a seat at the table? We're the biggest crime victim group ever. How did they get a seat at the table? And so we started thinking, what if the first step to justice isn't in a courtroom? What if it's recognition? What if it's being acknowledged as a crime victim group? And we started thinking about strategy. And that is what National Crime Victims Rights Week represents. And um, so that's why we're stepping into it. It's not, I'm going to say this a gazillion times, it's not just about the online presence or the memes or the whatever. This is an actual boots on the ground movement. And so every major movement that has influenced public policy and culture and politics and the justice system and legislation, whether you agree with these movements or not, they were effective. They all had one thing in common: the Me Too movement, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, BLM, Angel Moms, Mama Bears, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Um, the thing that they had in common was they were first recognized as a victim group, as victim rights groups, as victims of a crime. And so that recognition gave them a seat at the table. That recognition also made it unacceptable to dismiss them. Believe all women, believe all moms, believe, right? And that recognition forced action. Legislation passed in the name of such and such group or such and such person. And that's where we are right now, because here's the truth: medical crime victims, which is the largest group when you consider protocol victims, shot victims, hospice victims, nursing home victims, even medical kidnappings to some extent, the shot injured, the survivors, the ones that were isolated and died alone. There are millions and millions of us, yet medical crime victims have never been and are not formally recognized. And there's a lot of legislation, a lot of laws, a lot of federal laws that back us up that we are crime victims. So yet we're millions, and we're all fighting in our own silos, and that's ending. We're going to end that. So when we began engaging these organizers and these public officials in the National Crime Victim Rights Week, something struck us. What struck us was irony, and it struck us hard. The very systems and the very people tied to this movement that run this movement are the same systems that failed us. They're the same systems that ignored us, the same systems that at a minimum turned a blind eye and covered it up. And so what do you do when the systems won't recognize you, or or won't um acknowledge that you're a victim, or talk to you? You insert yourself. So that's exactly what we did, and that's what we're continuing to do. We inserted ourselves. Think of the Wedding Crashers. We inserted ourselves into the movement, and their campaign this year is listen, act, advocate. Listen, act, advocate. And we were like, hey, we can get on board with that. And we just added, it happened in hospitals too. It happened in hospitals too. And so us too movement. And so we inserted ourselves by showing up, by participating, by organizing, by telling our stories. And by doing all of that, if we do all of that, we're forcing recognition. And recognition matters. It matters. Official recognition matters, because once you are, think about it, guys, once you are acknowledged as a victim, a crime victim, they are acknowledging that a crime occurred. And once they acknowledge a crime occurred, and there's this medical crime victims classification or group that is just thousands upon thousands, tens of thousands of crime victims, it has to be addressed. They must address it. Once they admit it's a crime, they must address it. So we believe that's how change will begin. That's why the Medical Crime Victims Memorial Wall matters so much. Not only is it there, does it honor your loved one and gets them on the tribute that we're going to do to read the names, because it's the only way we know to read the names is if you submit your loved one. But when they, and it's already happening, because I had a policymaker call me about the wall. When people see it, it's it emotionally affects them, and it shows them it's not just a story, but it's going to be thousands of faces. Hopefully it's tens of thousands of faces that come forward, but it's going to be thousands of faces, thousands of names, and that proof becomes undeniable that it didn't just happen to a few people, but it happened to millions. And so that changes everything. It shifts perception, it builds pressure, it opens doors to policymakers everywhere, which we then will need you to be, whoever's willing to engage with them will need to do that. It connects us with leaders across the country who are finally willing to listen. And by leaders, I'm not talking about President Trump, y'all. Like he's never, like everybody's disappointed that they got a standard response from him. But, we need to talk to policymakers and people who can actually move the needle. And so, and most importantly, that wall growing makes it harder for them to ignore us, because once society recognizes a group as victims, it becomes very unacceptable to attack them. And just imagine that shift. Imagine going from, the last few years, right, where we were called liars or, whatever, from being dismissed to being heard, to being protected, from being silenced and mocked to being believed. That would be a great shift. Believe all Believe all medical crime victims. I would love to hear that chant. Believe all medical crime victims. Us too. And so we're closer than you think to that. Much closer. It's hard to meet somebody who doesn't have a family member that's been killed by some type of medical crime. We're closer than you think by banding together. So, but if we show up together and we work together, and so the wall, I have to say, I am in, one of the things in getting all of these hundreds, and we're working on getting them up. So if you did submit, just be patient. They'll be up there. But the hundreds that we've gotten so far, I have to say, like, it's very moving, because you look at the picture, and it's so obvious, after all these years, these people are loved. These were not just nobodies that were killed, were victims of medical crimes. They were loved, and they mattered. And so it's been incredibly moving for me to see all those coming in. I can't imagine looking at the wall as it grows what people will think, but I hope it has that effect where it moves people to tears. And so we're closer than we think. One of the reasons, which we'll talk more about in another video, why we created the BPUSA Advocacy Network, and it's still growing. You can see the Substack article that I posted about the BPUS. We also did a Nation Betrayed last week to introduce everybody. And so that's also out there on our Rumble channel and our website. So we created it because, separately, we're small, we're weaker. Together, we're a lot stronger. One voice can be ignored. 10 voices can be ignored. Even 100 voices can be ignored, to be honest, and has been. But thousands and tens of thousands cannot be ignored. It's not, it's this whole thing is not just on social media. It's not just about memes, although, I love me some memes. Everybody loves memes. It's not just about the digital. This is actually boots on the ground. It's a coordinated action. It's how movements are built. It's how battles are won. And we're just getting started. So here's how you can help. And we can set it up, but we need everybody to come together to knock it out of the park, right? And to get the attention. So here we go. And please put your comments in about how it's not going to work. No, I'm just kidding. Just put your comments in and questions. I'm glad to answer questions about why I think it's going to work, why we think it's going to work, why we think it's the start of a great strategy. So number one, add your loved one to the wall, to the memorial wall. Even if you hated me 6 months ago, I still love you. Add your loved one to the memorial wall, because they deserve it. They deserve recognition. They deserve justice. Every single person was a crime victim. They deserve justice and remembrance. And so put your name on the memorial wall, and that will automatically put them on the list to be read at the vigil. And so if you're submitting, again, give us a few days to get them up there. You will get a backdrop from me or Donna. We're making those as fast as we can and getting them out there. And so you'll know, hey, we got it, if within 24 hours or 48 hours, probably 24, now that I'm caught up. I stayed up all night to catch up, so that's why my eyes are a little glassy. So now that we're caught up, probably 24 hours, you'll get a backdrop, a social media backdrop that's personalized, so you'll know that I received, that we see your submission. And so but share that, share the wall, share if you can, the social media event, the event that we're having, because every every name matters, every face matters. And so that's like, add your loved one to the wall, share the wall is the second one. The more people who see it, the more powerful it becomes, of course. The more people who join the live stream and engage, the further it reaches. And we're going to have other groups, excuse me, live streaming that as well. I think I can live stream up to 10 different channels. And so, if you have a big platform and you want to live stream, let me know. And then also, we want you to share the wall because we don't want anybody to be left out. We don't want to hear on April 25th or April 23rd or April 19th even, oh man, why, can I add my loved one? We'll already have that list and it'll already be done. And so please, you can add them to the wall, but I want you to be able to add them to the visual as well. Everybody should be, and people don't always check their social media, or maybe they're not in our Facebook group or whatever, but so share the wall, tell people about it, tell your friends about it, tell your family about it, anybody you know about it. And then number 3, one of the campaigns for that officially, ironically and officially, is their national initiative is if you see something, say something, right? Basically report a crime. And boy, do we got their crimes to report to them. There's a mechanism to do it, and we're going to teach you how to do it and why medical crimes fall into these different categories. We're going to be doing 2 things. We're going to be doing an X space on it on the 18th, Saturday the 18th at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be doing a Zoom session on Monday the 20th with Leslie Batts and Dr. Aranda, and we're going to try to get one of the senators that kind of knows a little bit about this on, but we will have people on that will be able to talk you through it, show you what it looks like, show you the categories. We're going to try to put together some documents and some templates for you to show you where to look. But that's going to be on Monday the 20th at 7:30 p.m. So I'm going to be putting out a calendar for that week. So our goal is to get 10,000 medical crimes reported in 1 week. Our job is not to prove that a crime, that each individual crime existed. That's not our job. That's their job. Our job is to report, see something, say something, report a crime. And the reason we have to do it, because I know what you guys, some of you are like, Gail, I reported it. I reported it to JACO. I reported it to this group or that group. I wrote the president and nothing happened. I hear you. The reason it matters that we report in bulk and why we're targeting this week, and that we report correctly and in bulk and through the mechanism that they have to report, is not because we think every single crime is going to be prosecuted. We don't believe that. But by reporting in mass amounts, it's not to flood the system. It is to show a pattern. Patterns require investigation, right? It's not mandatory that we're not going to see convictions all over the place, but we'll see an investigation of the pattern. And you may see some prosecutions. We're already starting to see some with regard to fraud, right? So that's why it's very important. And we're going to teach you how to do it. And I hope everybody will participate, because we say it all the time. Why do we have no justice? Why do we have no justice? Because we don't have a strategy. We don't have a strategic plan where everybody gets together and says, we're going to demand justice together. So there's thousands of us out there. Marsha's group's got 7,000 in it. Kat's group's got 2,500 in it. We have, I don't know, like 800, 900. There's all these groups. On Twitter, we see thousands of people who've been impacted. All right, let's put our money where our mouth, well, not even money. Let's put our effort where our mouth is. We want justice. Let's do this. Let's do it together. We're going to teach you how. Leslie Batts is working on it with Dr. Aranda, and we're going to put together a package in which will make it easy for you to report at least one crime during that week. We're going to teach you how to do it. I hope you'll be engaged in those sessions, and we're going to record those sessions, and you'll find out more about that. So, because every story we've documented aligns with an existing federal crime, one way or the other. Every story so far. So, we're going to show you how to do it. We're going to have a full week starting with that session about not committing crimes. You're not committing a crime. You are reporting a crime. Starting with that session, and we're going to have a full week of education, speakers, action steps planned, and all of that. I'm going to put out a schedule this week. We are working with some. We had to have our people, which we don't have any people but us, but our people call some of these people's people to try to schedule some of these. We've got some of them scheduled, and the rest were once I have official commitment on specific nights from specific speakers, I will put out the whole week schedule, and I hope you can be there every night. We're going to record it, but it would be great to engage with some of these speakers so you can actually ask questions in real time. Because this doesn't end here. It doesn't end here. It doesn't, especially for us. I mean, I don't know about, yeah. I mean, I know everybody's tired. Everybody's like, oh, nothing's happening. We're not getting justice. We can't give up. We have to be all skinny pedal, all gas. So join us in that. So, and I want to be super clear about this. And I know I'm being long winded, but let me be super clear. This is not over. There are still people being harmed. Laura Bartlett's hospital hostage helpline is still ringing. We just worked to get a baby out of the hospital, 2-week-old baby out of the hospital last week, and are working on a 4-year-old out there. There's a teenager on Event who had the latest version of that they released of this, whatever it's bioweapon. And he's on Event getting remdesivir. It's still happening. We're not as overloaded as we were, but it is still happening. So don't kid yourself. It's kind of like Jaws, right? It was never safe to go back in the water. It's never safe to go back in the hospital. And that's why you also need to make sure that you have Laura Bartlett's I do not consent form.com. I've seen it work in multiple cases over the last two months where people got the red carpet treatment. And so if you don't know how to use it, call her helpline or reach out to her, and she'll help you. Laura's she's a tiger. She'll help you. And she's done several videos. Check Dr. Aranda's website because she's done several videos on how to do it. And make sure you get the right form from I do not consent form.com. It's literally black and white. So there's still families calling for help. There's still cases that are happening. In no way, shape, or form is this history. I mean, it is history, but it's also ongoing. There's still a democide in progress. And so we have a choice. We can stay quiet. We can shut up, and just like let it happen. Or we can hop on the battlefield and make sure that we get justice, keep reaching for justice, and make sure that this is never ignored, and at least make sure that they report enough of a pattern when we report our crimes that they can never claim plausible deniability and say that it never happened, because we can prove that they knew it happened. And so that starts with just one simple and powerful step, recognition. And that's why we're saying justice begins with recognition. And I just want to share one quote with you before I sign off on this. This is what Ronald Reagan said when he started this National Crime Victim Rights Week. He said, for far too long, the victims of crime have been forgotten persons of our criminal justice system. Rarely do we give victims the help they need or the attention they deserve. Yet the protection of our citizens, to guard them from becoming victims, is the primary purpose of our penal laws. Ain't that the fact? Yet the protection of our citizens. Oh yeah, I already said that. Thus, each new victim personally represents an instance in which our system has failed to prevent crime, and we fit that. They failed to prevent that crime, and they failed to protect us or acknowledge us. Lack of concern of our victims compounds that failure. We're living it. We need a renewed emphasis on and an enhanced sensitivity to the rights of victims. These rights should be central concern for all of those who participate in the criminal justice system, and it is time all of us paid great heed to the plight of victims. And so, with that said, we're going to remind them, hey, us too. It happened in hospitals too, and we need you. This was the commitment around National Crime Victims' Rights Week, and we are going to remind the public officials who are very passionate about National Crime Victim Rights Week that this fits our crime victims, and we want them to remember the spirit of this movement with regard to us. And so so join us in all that we do. Reach out if you have questions. And God bless, and I appreciate everyone's support, continued support as we fight this beast. Thank you.